Hi, I'm Sharon from Learn Acrylic Painting, and today we are going to talk about the one thing beginners can do that will improve their art almost immediately. If your art looks chalky or streaky or flat, then this lesson is perfect for you. We're talking about layering, and it'll bring everything together. Okay, I have painted a tree, just a bare tree, nothing spectacular, with a natural bristle brush. I think this is a number 10. Yeah, it is. And so now we are going to bring this tree to life. And the very first thing we have to do is decide where the light's coming from. So for me, the light is coming from that direction. This is put on there with soft fine charcoal. I do this with every painting so I know where the light's coming from. And then it will rub off very, very simply. I am going to use another natural bristle brush to put on the highlights. I'm just tapping the brush in the water and tapping it off on my paper towel. We don't want it sopping wet. On this palette, I have burnt umber, dioxazine purple, ultramarine blue, cad yellow light, I think that's medium, and white. So I'm going to take the color that I used on the tree, pull it out here on the edge, and add some yellow to it. This layering goes on, guess what? In layers. So I'm taking my natural bristle brush, I'm starting here on the edge, and I'm pulling it in. Now, because I used a natural bristle brush on the tree itself, it has left ridges in there that I love and are very useful. Just picking up some more paint all the way down the tree. I might skip a few places, but not many. And that paint there was still wet, so it picked up on my brush. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to this mix over here. And I'm going to come back in here because the paint was wet, so it picked up a lot of that brown. Okay, so let's go up here into the branches. I'm going to add some more yellow, and I'm going to pull a little bit more of that brown in there. You don't change colors like instantly. You go by values. So let's come up here a little bit more. Now, we're going to do this branch first, and the top part of the branch is going to get some light. Okay, so you can already look how that has changed this painting. This tree is changed just by that little bit. So now we want to think about this branch here. It's kind of sticking out maybe a little far in front of this one back here. So let's put a little light there. Okay, so now we're also going to put some light on this branch here. And you can start here and pull down this way, but it's also better to pull it into the branch itself. Okay, so we're doing pretty good there. So we are going to add some shadow. So I am going to pinch wipe my brush. I'm not going to bother rinsing it. I don't care if I get it all out. I'm going to come back here with the brown out here on the edge, and I'm going to add some blue to that. And maybe even a little purple. Purple is always good for shadows and depth. So now with the light on this side, we're going to come back on this side and add some dark. Just a little, not tons. See where my brush kind of skimmed along there? I can fix that right now. by bringing this up and over and then into the tree itself. I'm just picking up some more of the paint. I'm not mixing anything. So I'm going to come down here. See, this shows you that it's bark, it's rough. You don't have to really fix that at all. But I'm throwing in some shadow on this side just so you can see how it's done. Again, just picking up some more of the paint that I already mixed up. You don't have to mix up a lot. We're talking about values here. And if you enjoy this and can see how it would improve your art, I have another video that I will link in the description, and I'll try to throw it up on the in the card section. Okay, so here we've got this this branch here, and so remember when we added this light here to make it stick out, we're also going to throw in some dark right in here. You're just pulling it across. Your pressure's very light. Remember, pressure is extremely important in this kind of thing. So now we're going to come back in here. I'm going to bring a little more purple into some brown and some blue. Just mixing up a little. I just mix up a little bit at a time. And I don't care if it matches 100%. In this kind of thing, it doesn't have to. So here we've got this branch is behind this. So we need to make it sit back there further. So we're going to just touch and pull, because this branch is actually going to throw a little shadow onto this part of the tree. And then we're going to just pull it up till it actually just fades away. Okay, now, so you can see how that receded that branch there. And we can do the same thing over here. Maybe not as pronounced. We're trying to make this one stand up. Dark, cool colors make things recede. Warm, brighter colors make things come forward. Okay, so I like to add down here in my trunk, I like to add like there's a hole, like it's sort of hollow. So I'm using this dark color. And again, I'm just picking up some more of the paint that I've already mixed. And it's going back in there. Now I'm going to use a soft grip Royal Signet, and this is number 4, tapping it into the water, tapping it off on the paper towel. I'm going to pick up some of that dark paint. And you can, at this point, start bringing in some more depth into your tree. Like maybe this is a hollow tree and it's got a crack running up. That's maybe almost too even. You know, it needs to have a little bit of other movement in it. You can also, I'm just picking up some more paint, like put another place right in here where maybe a bird has made a home in there, some type of a woodpecker. So I'm picking up this paint, and as I do it, I am flattening out my brush. I want to get a thin line, see, like that. Okay, so I'm going to come from here on down. They're not going to meet until down here because I want these various cracks to show up. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse that brush again. This paint dries really, really quick, so you can add the next layer and the next layer usually fairly quickly. So over here, I have this. I think I'm actually going to spritz it with just a teensy bit of water. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to add some more yellow to that. You don't want to just come in there with bright yellow. So I'm going to pull up a little bit of that darker color, put it in there. and maybe even just a touch of white. See what I say? When I say a touch, I mean just a little bit. Okay. So now we're going to come back over here and we're going to do the same thing only with this brush. And we're going to throw in a little more light. Let's say there's something here and it's throwing kind of a dappled look. So let's leave this part the way it is and then pull this. Maybe throw this light over this way. Flip your brush because you've got paint on both sides. If you get too much, you can always take your finger and just pull it across. Now the light's coming here. It's going to shine right down on this root. It's also, we're going to go up. I'm going to pick up some more of that paint. We're going to go up into that tree branch that is sticking out in front, and it's going to get the lightest color at this point. Okay. There we go. Okay. And then we can come back with some more of the same paint. Just pick up some more and start out here on this edge. Remember, we had that shadow in here, so there's not going to be a lot going on right there. But out here, yeah, there's much more light. And the same thing over here where we had a shadow this side. So we're going to come in here and put the paint this way. Okay, so now you can see how you can't start out on any object, expect it to have depth and perspective with one pass through. So it's the layering that makes the tree or any other object look real. I'm going to add some Hooker's green to our palette, and we're going to see what layering does to grass. Okay, so I am going to get back out my natural bristle number 4, and I'm going to take my Hooker's green and I'm going to add some blue to it. I want to darken it down a little bit more. Okay, so now I am going to come in here and just push this around like this, and then I'm going to just flick it up into that, over that root. You can see what's really happening here on the white paper. Okay. So now we're going to pick up a little more of that paint. We're going to put it back here, and we're going to come up over that root as well. Okay, so that looks pretty good, but let's see what happens when we take a little bit of the yellow and add it to that green. Look at that beautiful color that it makes there. Remember, our light is coming here, so we're going to have some light in here. We might have some back in here, but I'm not going to put in, I think I'm just going to go along in here. Okay, so again, I'm going to push that into the paper and then start flicking it up. It gives the grass more depth. So now I'm pushing it up into that tall grass there. Oh, and because it's lighter than the tree, you can actually see it on the tree better. Okay, so now we're going to add a little bit of white to our green mix. We might even come back and throw in a little more yellow. White cools things down. I know that does not sound right, but that is the truth. So we're going to come in here now, and I'm touching with the flat edge, okay, and pulling it up. And I'm also standing it up, and I'm going to push it this way. I want to get a little lighter stuff going on in. Oh yeah, I love that. Okay, we're going to switch brushes. We're going back to the soft grip. I don't really know why the grip is here because painters don't usually hold the brush like this. They're usually way back here on it. Okay, so we've got some moisture in our brush. We're looking at this paint here. I think I'm going to give it another spritz. You don't want to over spritz your paint because it loosens the binder in it, but we're going to throw in a little more yellow, a little more white. Let's see what happens here. Now I'm going to be up on the point edge of the brush. I'm going to bring up that grass, and you need the grass to go in different directions so it looks fuller and it doesn't look stiff. If I made them all like this, okay, see, that doesn't look like real grass. We need something to cross over. I'm just picking up a little more paint, maybe mixing a little. I'm mixing a little bit more. I might have it just a tad too light, so I'm going to touch in the green. Yep, that brings it down just a bit. And you can also bring in some of the blue because you know what blue and yellow does? Makes a beautiful green. So there we go. Okay, so let's come in here like this. See, if you get them going in all different directions, then the grass looks so much more real. And we've got a lot of depth going on in there. Let's put some in here. And I love them as they come into, just picking up this paint I just mixed up. I love it as it comes up into the center of the tree. This is called seeding your tree. You're putting it down into something. It wouldn't just be floating on the ground. It would be have grass coming up around it. So you could bring this grass, you know, a long way down in here, and then just flick it up. Add some of your yellow to your brush. Don't have to mix it too carefully. You're just trying to, there you go. So see how the tree by itself looked okay. But once you start the layers and that's when you give it some depth. You'd want some of the grass back in here, maybe a little cooler grass than what's out front. This is a little cooler, and you could cool it down even more by adding a touch of blue again. There we go. So because of the color shift, this grass looks further away than this grass. Where the light's coming from is the most important, because if you had light coming from here, but then you had it on this side, it just wouldn't look right. Your eye would be, something's not quite right. I can't quite figure out what the problem is, but something's not quite right. And I do this on every painting. And then when I'm done, I can take a spray bottle and with a little bit of paper towel and get that completely off. There are some common layering mistakes, and I want to let you know what they are so you don't make them. Using too much water. If you use too much water, it can lift up the lower layers of your paint. My highlight paint had too much water in it. It could have lifted up the dark part of the tree underneath. It's not impossible to fix, but it's harder and it takes some time. Scrubbing the canvas with too heavy of a pressure. I hope that you saw how light a pressure I used as I put on the highlights and the shading. Jumping straight to the highlights before the form is built, that won't work. You have to have what we started with was the 3 big branches and the trunk. And after that, then you can add the highlights and then the shadows, and that will make it work. If you jump into the highlights before you have your actual underpainting shape done, it's not going to work for you either. Expecting perfection in one pass. When we put that first tree on there, not perfection. Many beginners get very frustrated thinking, well, that looks awful. Yes, all paintings go through an ugly phase. That was the ugly phase. Then the excitement comes when you start to add the highlights and the shadows. You might have an ugly painting for, I don't know, at least half of the way through. But then once you start to paint the highlights and the shadows and give it some details, now you're gonna fall in love with your painting. Not letting the layers dry. When I was down in here and that paint was wet, it kept sopping up the highlight. So you just kind of have to let it dry. It's going to take 10 or 15 minutes. And if you start down here, work your way up, by the time you're done with the highlights, everything else is pretty much dry. You're just barely touching it anyway. It's called dry brushing. And so, you know, you don't have hardly any water in that brush. You've got a very little paint and you're just touching and just barely touching there. So it won't take that long at all for that to dry. So if you fix those things in your paintings are going to improve immediately. I promise. Anybody can do what I just did there. Anybody. Takes no talent. It takes seeing and understanding the concepts and then using a gentle hand, a gentle touch. If this helped you, I think you'll really enjoy my other videos. I have a lot of videos on here. The values video may help you the most because layering only works when the values are doing their job. That's why we didn't just come in here once with this highlight. We came in here at least 2 times, and in some places 3, particularly through here. We kind of let these get a little softer and these get a little brighter. And they only work when you do that. Thank you so much for being here today. I'd love it if you would comment about what you learned, what was your aha moment, and anything else that you struggle with, so I know what to make a video of for you to help you even more. That's my whole goal. So let's paint together soon.